Rohan Samarajiva is the founding chairperson of LIRNEasia, an information and communication technology policy think tank which is active across emerging Asia. He joins us now from Colombo. Good to have you on the program, Rohan. Firstly, a dramatic turn of events over the last 48 hours in Sri Lanka, specifically in the capital where you are. Can you describe to us what the situation in Colombo is right now?
Well, strangely peaceful, given the momentous changes that are taking place. Most of Colombo is peaceful. Actually, the recorded injuries have been slightly over 100. The recorded number of deaths has been at 2, and even that I'm waiting to confirm. There are particular locations, centers of state power, symbolic centers of state power, that are under the control of the protesters. I have talked to people who are inside these places, and they seem to be generally relatively managed. We are not talking about pillaging and destroying, but people looking to see how their rulers lived. There's been one very sad incident of the private residence and library of the current Prime Minister being set on fire. He was not there at that moment, so there's no loss to life or injuries, but unfortunately, great loss, I think, to him personally and to the country.
Yes, and on the night that protesters stormed their residences, both the President and Prime Minister promised that they would resign at some point. They made this pledge on Saturday night, but they're still technically in office, and the protesters have vowed to continue to remain and occupy those premises until they're officially out of office. What difference will that make, do you think, on Sri Lanka's economic situation when those two people are out of power?
You must remember that when these problems started back in April, the demand was for the president to resign, go home, and for his brothers to also leave, the Rajapakshas. Mr. Wickremesinghe was in the opposition at that point, and nobody was wanting him to go anywhere or blaming him. It was only in May, after the attack on the protests by the then Prime Minister, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa's followers, that we had the cabinet dissolving and the country leaderless. And 3 days later, Mr. Wickremesinghe, who was in the opposition, a former Prime Minister, he took the very risky action of stepping into that role when called upon to do so. I said at that time that it was extraordinarily risky activity for a politician, but he did it. And now I think he is paying the price. The key point is that in a country where there are basically 3 centers of power, you have the president, you have the prime minister, and you have parliament, and symbolically the speaker. You can't have all of these people leaving at the same time. However, the protesters have read the niceties of the constitution. They want both of them gone. So if only the president had gone, we have a very clearly laid out procedure about how to replace him. Now he has said that he will leave on the 13th. Now, like many things that he does many things wrong. And then when it comes to remedies, it's always too little too late. If he had resigned even as late as the daytime of the 9th, before nighttime fell, we would have been able to contain this problem in a much more manageable way. Because nighttime, as everybody knows, is not ideal when there are people engaged in crowd activities. So if he leaves, and if he has said that he will leave on Wednesday, the 13th. If he leaves, either the prime minister or the speaker will take over, and there will be continuity. But the minute the prime minister steps down, cabinet is dissolved, and all the senior administrative officers, known as secretaries of ministries, will also cease to function. So we will then have a power vacuum. And now we are in, lots of people are trying to ensure that the power vacuum is minimized on Thursday when all this happens, or on Wednesday when all this happens.
Yes, and of course we'll be following those events on Wednesday very closely. Rohan Samarajiva, we appreciate your analysis. Thank you again for joining us.